Hello everyone, hope you're doing well and welcome to another tier list. Gonzo, are you ready to rank off some West Ham players?
I am more than ready, mate. The ointment is ready, and I cannot wait to get me teeth into this lot. That's something different.
Is there a particular player you're looking to ranking off more than others?
I've got to say, not only of these, I've been having a look at that Jota, who West Ham might be able to sign, and he looks an awful lot like George Michael. So I'm gonna keep me talcum powder dry on this one, Geo, and wait and see who we bring in.
Anyway, it's our traditional tier list. We've got four categories. We've got long term, don't know, short term, and get gone. Before we do that, though, let's just explain because over on Patreon, myself and Gonzo did a mug or two the other week, and Major said, who would you keep for the future out of our current squad? For him, it would be Areola, Emerson, Alvarez, Kudus, Paqueta, and Bowen. Everyone else would be happy to be replaced and upgraded. So what we're going to do is a little tier list, as we normally do. We discovered back at Everton, David Moyes had whiteboards of players that he thought had a long-term future at Everton, players that he thought would do well for the next season or two, and players that he wanted to remove, or players he wanted to upgrade for whatever reason. We're going to be doing the same. We're going to be going through all the first-team players. Gonzo, is there anyone else? Is there anyone you'd like to kick us off with?
No, you lead the way. I can't really see it.
Well, we've got Nair for Gerrard. So just to give a little explanation, long term is we see them here for the next 2 or 3 seasons. Short term is next season. Don't know, jury's out, and then get going. We want them to go this season. Now let me just move. Don't know down there. We'll go. That's a bit better. Right, Nair for Gerrard. We're putting him.
I think I'll put him in short term, but I wouldn't mind him being in long term. Somebody made the comment yesterday, which I thought was really, really funny. Somebody said no one's been clamouring for Nathan Gerd to return back from the African Cup of Nations, and I read it, and I thought that's actually really true. You've not. Oh, when's Kudus coming back? When's he coming back? Not a murmur, not a whisper about it. So. Yeah, but look, he is a really good player. Whether he's suited to West Ham, I don't know. I would still like to see Nathan Gerd playing for a little while in the David Moyes team that maybe has Calvin Phillips in there and all the attacking players, because then I think you'll probably see the best of him, because I think his counter-attacking passing will be really, really key. So, yeah, I'd put him there.
Well, I actually would put him in don't know, in the sense that I'm unsure if I'd like to see him here next season, because at the end of the day, if someone arrived with a £30 million bid today, I'd be inclined to hope West Ham accept it and move him on. So that would suggest that I don't necessarily see him here long-term or want him here long-term. But for some reason, even though he's been here for a little while now, it's still jury's out for me a little bit. Sometimes I think he looks like a top centre-back, and other times he's making big headers. So I would put him in don't know. However, I'm willing to let you win this one, and we'll pop him in the short-term category for now. Next up, we've got Edson Alvarez, I think.
Oh, he's the longest of long term. I'll give him a new deal. He's probably got 5 years. Give him 8 years. I'm joking, obviously. Probably wise to point out these days. Yeah, I think he's just such a great player. I can't pay any bigger compliment than say we miss him when he doesn't play. So we've gone from this player, Declan Rice, when he didn't play, we didn't look as good. We've actually got another one in there. And hopefully the transfer window will sort that out and rectify that and give us good cover. Because he's unavailable for a lot of games through a mixture of international duty, injury and suspension. But what an excellent player. I'm really pleased we signed him.
Completely agree. Nothing to add there. I've just discovered it's in alphabetical order via surname, so that's going to help us a little bit.
So Zuma's next.
I can't tell which player's which, but I know my alphabet, Gonzo. So we've got Anang next up, whose contract expires this summer. So there's a bit of a decision being made here by the club, and I think it's one of them that it might depend on if we're in European football or not, because of the club homegrown quota. But what do you where would you like to see Anang go in terms of the category?
Well, I've only seen him play once. I saw him play in front of me, my own very eyes, against Wycombe Wanderers. He was a good shot stopper. There were other parts of his game which I didn't particularly like, but I thought there was a couple of really wonderful saves, actually, world-class save in there. So I think I'd like to see more. Yeah, I can't see that we're in a position to go and buy a new goalkeeper. I'd rather spend elsewhere. We've also got young Knightsbridge in the under 21s as well. So yeah, let's short term. Let's give him a new deal for another year or so and have a look.
Well, I'm gonna overrule you on this one and put him in don't know, because if we don't have European football, I don't think we need to retain him. And we've got a player later on in Nathan Trott to discuss as well. So we've actually got two goalkeepers in similar situations here. And I think if we were to have European football next season, we would need to retain one of them for the squad registration. So I would put him in don't know for now. Weirdly, his future depends on what West Ham do, not what he does for me. So and then, next up, we've got Mikel Antonio.
A lot of A's, isn't there?
There is a little bit. We've got Areola next as well.
I'll go with short term.
It has to be short term, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't think it needs much explanation, this one, really. We don't know. I mean, you just said about Anang. It largely depends on what happens at West Ham. What Antonio does largely depends on Antonio. Don't know whether he's going to be fit or whatever. You just don't know. I just want to get to a point, I think, with a club where we don't need him. And then if he's there as a luxurious substitute when he's around, great. But it's just great to get to a point where West Ham don't drop off a cliff when we don't have Antonio.
I think we can start planning to replace Antonio now. And there's a lot of things that need done in the squad in the summer without adding in replacing Mikel Antonio. Now, if a bid came along which was attractive, then sure, that would change my opinion. But on the assumption nobody's going to come in with a bid of 10 million or greater for Antonio, then I'd like to see him remain next season because he's still an asset to have. And we've missed him. Now, there is that sort of guilt of, absence makes the heart grow fonder. And I think that's applicable in football in a lot of terms. That if a player's on the bench for a few games, you almost want to see them back again because they can do better than the player in the team. Even though they're still the same player, it's just the absence makes you think they're better than they are. But yeah, Antonio in that category.
But not in this case. Not in this case. We haven't had Antonio, and I haven't given him a second thought. To be fair,
well, I've missed
his absence hasn't.
I've missed him, Gonzo. We'd be a hell of a lot better off with him available in the previous month or so. Alphonse Areola. It's got to be long term, isn't it?
Yeah. I really like him. Really good keeper. Suits how we play. Surprised it took him as long as he did to get into the team because of that. Because of him, the way he can. There was a point. I know it was. I can't remember what the one of the most recent games that he played. It must have been before he got the. I think before he got the injury against Sheffield United. And I was watching it. I was watching it with my son. I went, watch him throw. He's going to throw this now. He's going to do it really quickly, and he did. And we were on the counter attack. Nothing happened, of course. But yeah, it wasn't his fault. I like him. He's sharp. He's sharp in the counter attack. So yeah, keep him on.
Well, we've got nobody in the get-gone category, but that may be a way to change it. It's time to discuss Said Benrahma.
Yeah, looks like he's listening there. He's cupping his ear. He's got to Sam Allardyce about him. He's about to listen to what we're going to say there. Yeah, he's got to go. He's got to go. Hasn't worked out. A hero of Prague. I hope he's reflected on fondly for that. I hope he's one of those guys that maybe he's can come back in years to come and talk about that journey to win the trophy. That would all be good. But he's not the first player I've seen do it at West Ham. Unfortunately, he's damaging his reputation by staying here longer. That the assists and the goals were never particularly prolific, but what he did has dried up now. I know there's mitigation for it. I'll just be repeating myself for the 50th time as to why it hasn't worked out for Said Benrahma at West Ham, but it hasn't, and he's got to go.
Next up, another simple one in Jarrod Bowen.
Yeah, he's got to go as well.
He's probably the longest long term for me, possibly, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Go on, elaborate some more. Tell us more about Jarrod Bowen.
I think he's our most important player, Gonzo. He might not be the best player, but I think he's our most important one. When he plays, regardless of who else plays, we've got a chance. We've seen that against Sheffield United. We've seen it against Brighton. 2 games where we came out with a point in each, and there was no Kudus and there was no Lucas Paqueta. He didn't necessarily influence those games, but my point is when he plays, you have a chance. Last season, he didn't turn up. We struggled massively. I was when we look back at our summer transfer business, it was, the signing of Kudus has been fantastic. I'm really impressed by the signing of Alvarez. Ward-Prowse has done well. Mavropanos could do well. But actually, I think signing Jarrod Bowen to a new contract is possibly still the most important piece of business we did in the summer transfer window.
Yeah, well said. I mean, if you cast your mind back, you don't have to cast your mind back. Go and look a couple of years ago, maybe videos we were doing then. There were lots of comments with people saying, "Why isn't David Moyes giving Said Benrahma as much of a chance as Jarrod Bowen? Jarrod Bowen's get all the preferential treatment and so on and so forth." They are sort of miles apart in terms of players. One of them is just completely effective. He's an assassin really as a Premier League player, and I think he's magnificent. Yeah, delighted to have him. What's not to like?
Next up is Maxwell Cornet. Before we do that, I just want to point in the direction of the Patreon where we got this question from Major. It's patreon.com/Hammers Chat, where you can receive additional video content, including player ratings, weekly podcasts, Q&As, Hammerlytics, my Anton Ferdinand podcast, Mug of Tea, opposition previews, and myself and Gonzo do a naked over there with clothes, but we discuss life. Just anything in life. Our latest episode, we're discussing how mini eggs don't contain many mini eggs anymore in the bag of mini eggs. But if you do head over there, you can get a trial for 7 days. You can become a mild addict and try before you buy for no cost whatsoever. So thank you very much to anybody that does head over there and take part. It helps support the channel and allows us to keep creating content such as the one you're enjoying right now. You made it to 11 minutes. You're obviously enjoying it. So maybe consider going to patreon.com/Hammers Chat and getting some more videos. Right, Gonzo.
Can I just add in that no, I'm not actually. I had a similar problem with a packet of wheat crunchies the other day. I'm sure there were only 9 crisps in there, but we'll discuss that at another time.
A tubular crisp as well, a very rare shape for a crisp.
It really is. Yeah.
Maxwell Cornet.
A regular shaped footballer, funnily enough.
Irregular amount of offsides.
That's right. It's more like an onion ring, isn't he? Really feel like going around in circles with him. I think. I don't know. It's true.
Yeah, I think so.
I have a real level of sympathy for him actually, and I'd like to see more. I've just lost all faith that we're going to. Latest rumours are that not just Ibrahim Osman but Jota as well. If we were to get both of those, just forget it. I mean, he might as well go. He is not playing. So, but he doesn't play anyway, really. We've got all these players to come back. I don't know. I like him. I'd like to see more. I don't think I will.
I think there's a few players that are dependent on the manager's situation, one way or another, i.e. they may remain here. So Thomas Souček would benefit from David Moyes signing a new contract. But there's some players that perhaps may benefit from the manager leaving. I think Maxwell Cornet, at the minute, at this point in time, you'd have to suggest that he'd maybe one of the candidates that actually might change his mind and remain at West Ham should there be a managerial change. So I think the don't know category is a good place to put Cornet because a lot can change between now and the summer. He could get 5 starts and impress and then become a mainstay in the team. Likewise, we could never see him again. And if that happens, then we know to get him gone in category. But for now, I think Cornet's he's got a big question mark because he's actually getting some minutes at present. So we'll wait and see. Vladimir Coufal. Now, this is an interesting one, Gonzo, because of his contract situation. Contract expires in the summer. Not a spring chicken anymore. He's had some really good performances this season, but I think it's fair to suggest that he's had some underwhelming performances as well. So where would you like us to put Vladimir Coufal?
Well, it's definitely not long term. I'd actually like us to replace him and buy a really good right back in the summer. But I would not quibble if he was to hang around as a squad player. But then again, we're going to get to somebody else who I want to deal with as well. So it's either short term or don't know, really. I certainly there's no long term future for him. So I'll let you call this one.
I would put him in the short term. I think I agree we need a right back, but I think we need a right back to relegate Coufal to the bench. That would be an ideal scenario. But I think what it also does, because he can actually contribute, it's not like we're bringing in somebody to replace a guy that's finished. He's not finished. He's 31 years old. He's still got a lot in the tank. We've seen good performances from this season, so it's not like he's been poor for a large period of time. It's just a position that needs upgraded and it needs dealt with. And I think having him there shows that should we go, let's just suggest that we go after a young player who might not quite be ready for the Premier League yet, and he takes a little bit of time to adapt and settle in. That's okay because we know we've got an adequate right back in Soufal, so that if he needs to come out of the team for whatever
Sure.
reason, Soufal can go in, and he's perfectly capable of stepping up for that period of time. And it just takes the pressure off the new right back, I think. While competition's healthy, I think it's only a problem when you've got two players maybe 25 years old. I think that's when it's a problem, because it can almost be too competitive. You don't have enough minutes to please both. But when you've got one right back on that side of 30 and one coming in, actually, I think it's possibly quite easy to balance. A bit like the Emerson Creswell thing, where we brought Emerson in and we slowly moved Creswell out of the team. And I think that was almost the right thing to do there in terms of succession planning. We're seeing it with Areola and Fabianski. I think there's
a bit like you and me as well.
A bit like you and me. And I think there's an opportunity to do that with Soufal. Right. It also maybe hinges on European football. If we've got European football, then yes, we need Soufal. And if we don't, we can maybe get away with letting him go in the summer. But for now, Gonzo, I think we put him in the short term. I'd like to see him getting a 1-year contract extension. Yes. But someone who I don't think we're going to want to see get a new contract extension is Aaron Creswell.
No, bless him. Time to go for Creswell. I've got nothing negative to say about him at all. You know, what a great signing he was, 6 odd million or whatever it was from Ipswich Town. So yeah, brilliant. There's been a couple of times during his career when he was amongst the best fullbacks in the Premier League. You know, so yeah, well done, Aaron Creswell. But no, I think the journey's done, so to speak.
Completely agree. I echo every single word of that. Interestingly, Flynn Downs, obviously not part of the squad, but he's still contracted to West Ham and a member of the first team. So what would you like to see with Flynn Downs sort of next season?
I'd actually like to see him. It's what's best for West Ham. It's not necessarily what's best for Flynn Downs. I would like. He's a West Ham fan. If he could be a backup midfielder, I'd really love that, and I'd have him here long term to do it. But Flynn's not going to want to do that. He's going to really have enjoyed playing football at Southampton. So I think he's going to have to go. But with a heavy heart in that sense, you know, the West Ham fans, and I think he lives over in Brentwood, and I don't think it's ideal, and I think he's good enough to be a squad player. He would have played. I'm sure he would have played this season, Geo. In times he would have played, and I think anyway. Well, but that's where we are with it. Yeah, a bit of a shame.
The signing of Calvin Phillips, if we do sign him, just blocks off any potential return for Flynn Downs, and I have this guilty naivety of seeing people like Flynn Downs as free money. That we sell him in the summer, we get 10 million, but he's not part of the squad. You can't miss what you don't have, as to say, well, we don't have him this season. So do we miss him? Not really. He's Southampton's player at the minute, not West Ham's, and it's hard to not look at it like that. But we can maybe get 10 million from him in the summer. Well, that's a lot of money, actually. We're 10 million up, and we haven't actually removed anyone from the current squad. So, of course, it's not free money. We've paid for him, but that's how I view it to some extent. I was tempted to put him in the don't know category because, again, it goes back to what we just said about Kearney regarding the manager. If Moyes goes in the summer, the new guy might want to look at Flynn Downs in the Premier League. But for now, I think he's probably in the get-gone, and I'd be surprised that changes, whether it's from West Ham standpoint or, like you said, Flynn Downs' standpoint. The best thing he could do is get his move to Southampton. Another easy one, though, Emerson.
Oh yeah, for sure. Stick him up there. What a great season he's having. One of the best fullbacks in the Premier League. One of the best left backs in the Premier League. So love how he's progressed. What a great player. I was very wrong. I said at the time, and we spent 13 million. I said to you, Gio, I said I think that's about right. I'm not looking at him and seeing a £30 million player. I wasn't looking at him and seeing a £5 million player. It looked about right. He's much better than I thought he was.
Yeah, completely agree. Easy one. Get him up there. Lucas Fabianski.
Ooh.
I would like to see him getting a new deal, Gonzo, short term.
Okay.
I think he's been good this season. When we've called upon him, I think he's been good. I think he's had a couple of iffy moments, but so's Areola. Every keeper does. But I think by and large, Fabianski's been really good. When Areola was out, I think he really stepped up.
Yes.
And so much so that actually, if Moyes kept Fabianski in goal when Areola returned, I would have understood it. I would have said, Fabianski's out the gloves. He kept a couple of clean sheets as well. Yeah. I think he showed he can do it. Never really been a problem. He had that bit at the start of the season when he spoke out to the Polish media regarding the surprise of being dropped and how unhappy he was. But I think we might struggle to keep him if we don't have European football, because we can only offer him essentially one Carabao Cup game and one FA Cup game as a guarantee. And obviously then he relies on Ariola getting injured. But I would like to see us give him a new 1-year contract, and I hope he takes it. I hope he stays. He's there's no evidence. Yes, he's old, but keepers, as we know, can play longer. There's no evidence that age is causing an issue yet.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with everything you said there. It's a really good level to have as your second string goalkeeper, and you sort of don't worry about what the drop off might be. So yeah, I'm happy with that as well.
Pablo Finals.
Yeah, he's got to go. He's got to go. I've just been speaking about him in a video recorded 10 minutes ago, Geo. Yeah, what a shame. What a shame. Great nickname. Great guy. Wherever he goes, I think the fans will really warm to him. But he deserves to go and enjoy the rest. What is he, 27 now, something like that? He deserves to go and enjoy the rest of his career and play some football and have some fun time. So, yeah, but yes, he needs to go now.
I just hope we don't price him out of his dream move. There's a few Spanish clubs interested in him, and I've seen a report from a Spanish journalist saying that Fornals is being viewed as this sort of like rescue prize asset from some Spanish clubs. They're all looking at him thinking, hello, we can get a top player here for next to nothing because of how West Ham have treated him. That's how they're looking at him. And I was pleased to read that, actually, that there's so many clubs have got faith in him and want him. Sevilla, Real Betis, these aren't poor sides either. So I hope he's got a few clubs to choose from. I hope that not just one club comes in to pay the money and the rest get rejected. I hope they're all able to pay what West Ham want, and he's able to pick the club he wants to go to. And I hope he goes and does well. I'll keep an eye out for him, actually. Done nothing wrong at West Ham, and it's a real shame at how it's coming to an end, really. But yeah, get gone. Danny Ings.
Yeah, he's got to go. He's got to go. It's as simple as that. It's lovely to see him, have a 7, 8 out of 10 performance the other day in a number 10 role, but it's going to be few and far between. He's still not suited to our style. I don't want to see him playing in a number 10 role long term. Everybody was either injured or on African Cup of Nations or suspended. So well done, Danny. And I just hope for him he showed enough in that game that if you were Wolves or Crystal Palace or anyone was looking at him, I know you alluded to this fact as well, that that they might look and think, oh, okay, he's still got a game in him. Let's go and sign up Danny Ings. So yeah, but I think he's a great guy. Love his attitude.
Yeah, completely agree. Ben Johnson.
Yeah, it's funny enough. Just today on our Patreon WhatsApp group, somebody shared. I think it was a tweet, or it could have been from another social media platform. And I don't know who wrote it, but it was just shared on our group. And it said West Ham are currently scouring the market to look for a versatile defender who can cover a number of positions. And I had to chuckle. I really did. So we've got one of those. He's not only is he homegrown, he's through the academy, so that ticks the UEFA box as well. It just ticks every single box. He does not, despite the leaked stories, he does not expecting Zuma money or anything close to it. He just wants, he wants a squad player's wage at West Ham. He's been here since he was 8. Every time I've seen him play this season, he's been brilliant. I think he's put the ghosts of Brighton behind him. If he can, I just want him to get a little bit of a chance, and I think he could be a good squad player for a very, very long time. I don't think we're going to get him on long term, Geo, but I would like to see him, even if he just signs a little deal to get him over the line. I'd love to see him here forever. I don't care which one of those top 2 you put him in.
Well, I'm going to put him in long term, actually, because this is what we want, not what we expect or hope. This is what we'd like to see.
Yeah,
and Ben Johnson goes in long term for me as well, a 3-4 year contract or something like that, which takes us up into his late 20s for little money in comparison to everything. Like you said, his wage demands reportedly 60 grand a week. How big that is? Well, like you said, it's half of Kurt Zuma and half of Danny Ings. They're on 120 grand each, and we're bringing in players like Calvin Phillips to the club on similar wages. It's then very difficult to turn around to Johnson and say you're not worth half of that. Yeah. And I think it's a difficult situation for him, and I hope we can get it resolved. But I too would like to see Ben Johnson sign a 3-4 year contract with us, and that way it's just a player that can cover right back, cover left back. Played centre midfield at youth level until Mark Phillips moved him into right back, and we've sort of accidentally stumbled upon that he might actually be able to do something in centre midfield as well. So he's adding a lot of strings to his bow.
Yeah, just one further thing on that. Traditionally, I love these players. I'll chuck another couple at you: George Paris and Steve Potts. I love these players. You know, they ain't the best players in their singular position, but what they can offer the club is something really, really good. So, yeah, I really hope this gets resolved.
Tilo Kehrer.
Oh, blimey. Of course, he's
still a West Ham player, and he's still contracted to us.
I think he's a good player, Geo. I think we may have made an error here. I don't listen. If it turns out we finish in the top 6, we qualify for Euro again, we haven't made an error. I think again, you could almost copy and paste some of what I said for Ben Johnson there. Actually, I'd like him in and around the club. I really would. Yeah, so one of the top 2 for me.
I actually wouldn't put him in the middle one, the short term one. I'd put him in long term or don't know. I think we should put him in here. Because it is dependent on a lot of things, isn't it? Do we have European football? Who's the manager?
Yeah, sure.
What we're doing with Jarrod and Ogbonna? Because if Ogbonna's going, then we almost suddenly find ourselves quite short at centre back. So we could do with him. If Ben Johnson goes, then Kehrer actually becomes the versatile defender out of the club. So I think Tilo Kehrer for me goes and don't know. Obviously, this is out of our hands. The club have got different plans, but I agree with you. He's someone that actually I quite like him. I think he's a decent player. Another easy one, Kudus.
Oh yeah, I would love to have him long term. But I fear enjoy him this season, folks. You know,
I think we'll have him next season as well.
Yeah,
I do. I think we'll get another season out of him.
Brilliant.
I think the club are quite good at retaining their better players. In regards to somebody that begins with a P, it's out of our hands.
It is, yes.
But it is in our hands, unless there's a clause we don't know about, which he was pushing for at Brighton, reportedly, then it could be. But again, this is where I would expect the club to have been quite clever. And if there was a release clause, I'd expect it to be similar to Paqueta's, if not more. So that's a case of if you are going to get him, you're paying big money for him. Yeah. So I think we'll have him next season. Beyond that, I'm not too sure, but I think we've got another year out of him. In the long term, he goes, though. And next up, we've got Konstantinos Mavropanos.
I mean, it's hard to say short term because we've just signed him. He's going to have a long-term contract, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, short term would imply that you want to get rid of him in the next 18 months or so.
No, I mean, he's only just got in the team. I don't think he's had the same defensive part, playing the same defence for more than 2 games in a row. So I think there's a good player in there, Gio.
Long term?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't disagree. The jury's out a little bit for me in the sense to... Is he worth 25 million? I don't know. I've not seen enough. I've been impressed with him in some games and I've been concerned about him in some games. But for that reason, I'm kicking the can down the road a little bit. So I haven't really formed a strong opinion about him. There's some games I think his passing looks really good. Against Sheffield United, I thought his passing was really poor, but he didn't have the players ahead of him. But at the same time, I'm like, well, you still had Premier League players. It's not like you were playing with amateurs. You still had Bowen and Ings and Cornet. For now, these are still good Premier League players to aim for. So I'm still uncertain on him. But for now, I see him as part of the long-term plan at West Ham until something drastically changes, whether it's him or players that we bring in. I think he's in the long terms. What about Ogbonna, though? His contract's due to expire earlier in the season. Me and you felt that he was finished, but he came back and kept a couple of back-to-back clean sheets. Looked horrific away to Liverpool, but has done really well against the likes of Brighton. Where do you fancy?
I'd let him go. I'd let him go. I really would. All those things are true that you said, and he has surprised us this season. And actually, he's been decent in a couple of games. But when he gets exposed, I mean, he really, really gets exposed. And we need to sort this. We need to sort this out. Which is why I'm in no hurry to sort out a Gerd and Mavropanos. Actually, funny enough, those two look good as a partnership, by the way. We need to replace Ogbonna, and I guess he'll be the last one in the list if we're going alphabetically. So there's another thing to address there as well. We're going to need to start if David Moyes signs a new deal, which we suspect he will, we're going to have to start looking towards the future as well, and he's just not part of it. So I don't, whatever he is now, 36, 37, I don't want to see another year's version of him, basically.
Yeah, he's 35 at the minute, but he'll be 36 before next season kicks off. So I agree with you. It's just an age thing. It's not anything else other than an age and an injury history issue here. In terms of his professionalism and his ability on his day, there's no question about that whatsoever. And I hope, if he has aspirations to get into management or coaching and he's good at it, I hope he sees the future at West Ham in that regards. But for in terms of playing capacity, we've got to be ruthless here. And, we're being ruthless with Creswell, and I think we have to be with Ogbonna as well and say, enough's enough. Thank you very much. And a genuine thank you very much as well.
Yeah.
But it's time to move on to pastures new. Right, next up on our list, Gonzo, click the wrong button there. Next up on our list, we have Lucas Paqueta.
He's one of the best players in the league. I'd love to keep him. It's out of our hands, unfortunately. In many respects, that's a terrible thing to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. Maybe we've been a bit blessed with this betting scandal, because I'm not sure we would have kept hold of him. So,
well, I think that's a fair thing to say.
Yeah.
I think he was going to Man City until they discovered that he had a.
I know, but it feels weird being pleased. Like I did the other day. Like when Ghana went out the Africa Cup, they said, yes. I thought, oh, hold on. Just calm down. He's reveling in someone else's misfortune. So as you get what you want, it's not great. But I did, and I was sort of pleased that he got the chance.
Misfortune. A few people made quite a lot of money out of it, we believe. Allegedly. There was no misfortune on Paqueta Island.
Reveling in other people's fortune. That's the nice one. Yeah, he's brilliant. He's brilliant. What can you say? A magnificent player. We have, I know it's slightly different, right? But I remember Alan Hansen years ago. He was doing some punditry for the BBC. It was at a World Cup, and they were talking about Argentina. And he said, well, hold on a second. He said, someone's talking about a whole team of world-class players. He said, you don't need a whole team of world-class players to win a World Cup. So you need 3 world-class players and then a bunch of competent players. If you do that, you've got them in the right position, you've got the right tactics. He said, you can do big things. West Ham, with Paqueta, Kudus, Bowen, and Alvarez, for the starters now, I'm not talking about any of the others, they are top quality players. I don't want to argue whether they're world class or whether they're not, but I think there comes a point where you can really do good things. I'm not talking about necessarily winning the Premier League, but I'll tell you what, when Leicester did, not every you'd look at that, you probably think, okay, Mahrez, Vardy, Schmeichel was in great. So the centre back, Morgan, was that his name?
Yeah, there was Morgan and Maguire, and then they had Conte in midfield.
Yes, they had Conte. Yes, they sort of had 5 operating at a top level, and I think he's a real big part of it. And I think if we can get in there and get Phillips and get to a point where we have sort of 5 excellent players, then we can actually really go. And I think that the point is that you can go and you can win any game. And I think he's just such a massive part of that. He causes trouble to any defence he plays against.
So according to Gonzo, we need Danny Simpson and Christian Fuchs, and we're winning the Premier League. There you go.
That's right.
Thomas Souček. This is an interesting one.
He's a great guy to have around. I mean, I think he is. I really do. I just think we've been overly reliant on him. In many respects, a sort of slightly slimmer example. I mean, in terms of his frame, a sort of smaller example of what we got with Mikel Antonio, where I think there's been times we've been too dependent on him. I think if we can take that reliance away from him, then as a squad player, I think we've got a really, really good player there, Geo. I really do. I just don't want him bossing the midfield and running midfield and being the answer to everything. He's not that, and I hope we see a phasing out of him being as important as he is when Phillips comes in, but I still keep him around the squad and I keep him for the short term.
It's a difficult one. I think you could make an argument for any category here. You could make an argument that you want to see him around for the next 2 or 3 years. Short term, which you're suggesting would be that maybe next summer 2025, you're maybe looking at selling him. Don't know, because again, there's a question mark over the manager's future and Calvin Phillips, and then get gone because people might decide that they don't want to see this type of player anymore. They don't want him at West Ham. So I think you can make a case as to which category he goes in. This is where it comes down to personal preference. Personally, I'd probably put him in don't know because I'm torn between long term and short term. I don't want to sell him in the summer, but then again, if a big bid came in, I would. I'm struggling on this one, Gonzo. Do you want to put him in short term?
Yeah, again, it's one of those, I don't feel that passionate about it. I'm not going to argue with you on
Yeah,
it.
we didn't actively try and sell him. I think he's a good player, and I think he's having a good season. It's just, like you said, the reliance on him from the manager. But if the manager is to change, and all of a sudden I think the desire to keep Thomas Tuchel, who suits this manager, would probably change as well. I'll leave him in the short term, but this is the one I'm a bit uncomfortable with at the minute. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I just don't feel that's the right one. Nathan Trott.
I think if he's going to break through, he would have broken through by now.
Well, he's playing first team football in Denmark this season, and
not in Norway.
And I believe, do you know what's funny? Mike did a video on Babbling Irons about Abraham and Osman, and also said that he's in Norway at the minute. So I don't know if he's watched our video and got Norway stuck in his head.
I must confess, I read it. The reason I said it was I'd read it on Sports Witness, which is a.
Well, I better say, I definitely read somewhere he was playing in Norway, so it's.
And what I did, and then there was very much a Scandinavian name, and then I read that the club were wanting X amount of krona for him. I put all three together, it all went into a melting pot, and all of a sudden he was playing in Norway in my mind. But I definitely read it somewhere. Yeah,
he's playing first team football in Denmark. I believe he's having a good season. I say I believe. I'm going by a handful of bits I've seen because they don't have the biggest following in the world, so it's difficult to really get a grasp of it.
Offensive.
And I think we potentially need one of him or Anang, but I don't think we need both.
Well, David Moyes might think differently. He likes a lot of goalkeepers around the place, but I'm willing to give another go. The irony is, I last saw Trott play at Wickham. I did. I'm obviously getting up to Wickham quite a lot. Looked good with the ball at his feet, but he used to play outfield, as I understand it. So, but it's been a long time. That's a long time ago, you know. I'd like to see some more if he's playing well. You know, good on him. But it seems to have been at the club a long, long time.
I think he goes in, don't know, but I'll put him next to Anang. Right there, because I think it's between one of them. One of them goes and one of them stays, I think.
It looks like he's looking at him. It looks like he's looking at Anang as well.
Well, let me put him on that side of Anang so that he is now. There he is. Now he's looking at Anang. There you go.
Yeah.
A little bit of confrontation going on in the tier list.
Kick off.
Yeah, I think so. But this is where, truth be told, Gonzo, me and you don't know enough. We've not seen enough to really say. But I think, again, if we're in European football, one of them have to be here because it ticks the boxes. Now, arguably, next season there's a chance that we'll only have 2 or 3 homegrown players in regards to club train, so you could actually keep them both. But I don't like that. I don't want to hoard the keepers. I think let one of them go and forge his own career. Now, Trott's doing that at the minute. Trott is doing it in Denmark, not Norway. Yeah. So perhaps we let him go and he can hopefully get a permanent contract where he is. But I'll put him in the don't know for now. I've just realised one player is not in alphabetical order, but we'll get to him. Someone that is in alphabetical order is James Ward-Prowse.
Yeah, long term. He's not had the best of months, maybe, let's put it that way. But I think he's been asked to do things that he's not equipped to do. He's gone for a little lean spell of no assists from corners and that sort of stuff. But make no mistake about it, he will be back. And there will come a point this season as well where he has a little run of getting assists from corners, and he'll be the topic of conversation again. So yeah, I really like him. He's just been asked to hold the midfield together, which he's not capable of doing on his own. So, what are you doing?
I'm rearranging it into positions because coming the end of the video, it's going to be interesting to see
that's very particular of you, Geo. That's nice.
Yeah, because then we can see what positions we've got in terms of long term and where we have a concern. But I agree with you, James Ward-Prowse goes into the long term. Now, his long term is different to Kudus's long term. Now, Kudus is can we see him for the next years and years, please? Whereas Ward-Prowse is the next 2 or 3 years, and then we'll reevaluate. But for now, I think it's a smart signing, and unlike 1 or 2 players, I don't think he depends on a manager changing or not. I think he'll be fine under Moyes, and I think he'll be fine if we were to go and get someone different. I think he's very versatile and works. And I feel like Mark Noble, there's some players that play under every single manager.
Yeah.
Although all managers are different, and I think Ward-Prowse has got a bit of that about him. Kurt Zouma. It's got to be short term. It has to be. He's the most nailed on short term player we've got, I think.
Well, yeah, or get gone. He is. I'm thinking he's about to drop off a cliff. Well, that will break. He will be broken then, won't he? He'd probably fall over before he got to the edge of the cliff. To be fair, his knees are so bad. But it's. I'm looking at him now, and he is looking more broken all the time. And I think he's a hell of a player. I really do. But if I was a club, I would. And you're right about short term, by the way. Would I actively go and get rid of him now? No, but he would not be getting a new contract under me at all, unless he took a massive pay as you play thing. You know what I mean? A massive drop in wages. Sorry. We have to right now start identifying Stuyton or the what's his name on Harry Potter on the computer or whoever it is, right? What's his name? Old Hans Potter.
Mortimizer. Hans
moisturizer. Hey, I love it. A bit dry. Yeah, so they want to get Hans moisturizer on the old computer. The old 28-year-old signed from Werder Bremen. Get him on there and try and find us a centre back. He'd be saying to David Moyes, "What we putting in there, David? What do you want me to find? Big. It's got to be really big, just big, man. No, bigger. 6'4", no bigger. Can we get a bigger one than that?" So yeah, I think we got to go and actively look at Zuma's replacement and get it done now. Get the succession plan in place. So yes, short term, I'll still have him in next season because his contract allows, but I would be phasing him out. When he does drop off that cliff, it is going to be a really bad thing to witness because I do think people are just going to be running around him.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's got a lot of market value at the minute as well. I'd imagine you'd be able to sell him and get quite a bit of money, not 20 million or anything like that, but I think you'd be looking at over 10 million you could get for him. 29 years old, contract expires next summer in 2025, so the club do have a big decision on their hands very soon. And I think next summer, I'd imagine he might have a clause in his contract or something. If there is, I could see us activating it and maybe looking to cash in or just play him until he's summer 2026 and that's it, he's gone then. But I agree, this is where the club have to get the decision on Kurt Zouma they have to get it right. It's a big call. It's a difficult call, but they have to get it bang on because I don't want to see him sold this summer. I don't want a third summer in third summer in a row, 3 summers out of 4 where we're changing captain again. That's something I like. So I'd like to see him remain next season, but beyond that, not too sure. Now the last player is Divine Mubama.
Cool, dearie me. That's your alphabetical one. Obviously. I don't know.
Short term or don't know.
Yeah, I honestly
not short term. Sorry, long term or don't know. I don't think it's short term.
I don't know. Yeah, I just don't know. I have not seen enough to make an informed decision. Every time he has played has been when the team is crap and that doesn't have the midfield behind him. And he's got no supply line. I actually want him to go on loan. Ideally, if you could send him to Wickham, please, old Hans, if you're in charge of that as well. If you send him to Wickham, that'd be great.
Carlton Cole's in charge of it now.
Is it Carlton?
Carlton Cole's our loan manager now.
Oh, brilliant. Well, I didn't know that.
I think it's his 15th job at the club or something. I think he gets a new role every summer or
something.
Good.
Well, as long as he's kept employed, what's not to love about Carlton Cole? He's brilliant.
Eventually, he's just going to be like the squad tickler. The fluffer. There's a thought. Go around before the game, getting everyone up for it.
Okay, would be, wouldn't they? Yeah, absolutely. Strangely apt on the ranking video, Geo. Let me just say that. So anyway, once he's done his stuff, done his business, Carlton, it would be good because then I can go to Wickham, which it's less than an hour away from me, and I can go and watch Potts. I can go and watch Couture, and I can go and watch Bummer. Basically, I go West Ham Lights, which is Wickham Wanderers. They do a bloody nice pie. Oh, the pie! Come on. And I can go there, eat pie, watch the West Ham players, and the world's a happy place. And I'll report back because at the moment I've got no information I don't know about with Bummer.
Well, I strongly, and I feel pretty strong about this, that he goes in long term for me. I think he goes up here. Now, do I think he will succeed at West Ham? Not necessarily. The jury's still out in that regard. But this is about how we see the players. And for me, Mubama is part of that long term at the moment. Now, that might change. I might see more of him, think he's not ready. We might put him out on loan and he doesn't do very well in League One. Then I think, no, he's not ready. But today, right now, based on what we've seen and what we know, I still see him part as our long-term plans. I would like to see him get a long-term contract. We've got to put faith in him. And then we'll have to get the development part of him right. We haven't got that correct so far. I think the last calendar year, the last 12 months, maybe, I think it's been a little bit... He's suffered because of, first of all, sort of poor form 12 months ago, and then just poor planning for the squad, maybe. Antonio being injured, Ings has been in his way a little bit. He's come in, but like you said, when he's come in, Paqueta's not there, Kudus isn't there, Bowen's not there, and it's difficult for him. And he's not playing under 21s football because he's needed on the bench. Mm-hmm. Maybe not even getting on, and a lot of times he isn't even getting on. So he's not really... I feel like his career off the pitch has gotten up a little bit. He's part of the senior squad now, training. Yep. He's in the squad every game, every away game he's there. Mubama now can assume he's involved in every first team squad. He might not always make the bench, but he'll travel with the team. He might be the plus one in case someone's injured, but he can assume every first team fixture he's going with the players, and he is. So that's progress from 12 months ago. But actually, in terms of on the pitch, it's sort of flatlined a little bit because he's not getting football. There's no regular football. He's getting bits in the senior squad. And I know people say, well, it's a good learning experience, but I struggle to believe standing on the halfway line and getting the ball battered at you for 15 minutes is a learning experience. I think he'd be better off in League One getting kicked to ribbons for 90 minutes because he'll learn a hell of a lot more there than he is playing when he has played for us. So I feel like his progress is sort of stopped, but only because of circumstances around the club. And I don't blame anyone necessarily for this. I think sometimes Moyes could have used him more, but not always. Do I want to see Mubama start ahead of Jarrod Bowen? No. Kudus? No. Paqueta? No. I mean, ahead in the team, yes, but ahead of in terms of selection? No, do not. So I think it's been a difficult one for him. He could have had more minutes, but even if I was to go back at all the games Gonzo and pick out where I feel Mubama could have played more, I don't think it will equate to much. Do you know what I mean? Half an hour there and half an hour there, 20 minutes there, a start against Lincoln. But there's not many games, I think.
We've got hindsight now against Sheffield United because Ings played well. But would you have started him against Sheffield United?
I would have done, yeah. Okay. But so I think long term, yes, but I think short term, something needs to change in order for him to achieve that long term status at West Ham. And right then, let's have a look at myself and Gonzo. We finished ranking off all the West Ham players. In the get-gone category, so these are players we'd like to see leave in the summer transfer window. We've got Saeed Benrahma, Adam Creswell, Flynn Downs, Pablo Fornals, Danny Ings, and Angelo Ogbonna. So we have a total of 5 current first-team players there, plus Flynn Downs, who's out on loan. In the don't know category, for one reason or another, as explained, we've got Anang with Trot. We've also got Maxwell Cornet and Teal Kerr. In the short term, so players we'd like to see at West Ham next season, but beyond that, we're not too sure yet. Is Nair Figueroa, Mikel Antonio, Vladimir Soufal, Lucas Fabianski, Thomas Souček, and Kurt Zouma. But in the long-term category, players that we'd like to see remain at West Ham for a considerable amount of years. We've got Aviola. We've also got Ben Johnson, Konstantinos Mavropanos, and Emerson. We've got Alvarez and Ward-Prowse. We also have Kudus, Paqueta, and Jarrod Bowen, as well as Divine Mubama. So that gives us, I think, 10 players. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We've got 10 players there, Gonzo. We're missing a centre-back. We've got a goalkeeper, a right-back, 1 centre-back, a left-back, 2 centre-mids, 2 right-wingers, and number 10 in Paqueta and a striker in Mubama. So long-term, we're missing a centre-back.
David Moyes would probably agree.
Can I have a £25 million one, please? I like that figure for centre-backs.
But I also think we've weeded out, there's 6 players we've weeded out there as well. And I think that's about right. I mean, so if we could bring in 4 really good players, then try and look at maybe next season promoting a couple from the youth academy, I think that's about right. That's not wholesale change. That's I think that's evolution of the squad. And I think that's right. And I think they're players that can be improved upon as well.
Yeah, I think the squad's looking okay at the minute because, like we said, 10 players for long term. We've also got 6 players short term. So going into that next season, that's 16 players that we'd like to see here. There's 4 question marks over there. Now 2 of them are goalkeepers and one's out on loan at Monaco. And then in the get gone category, I'm just trying to quickly do the mathematics here. You know, Ben Rama 15 million, Creswell obviously nothing, Downs 10 million. Fanal's, can we say 10?
I don't really go, but I think there's 30 million pounds worth of players there. I think it's safe to say.
Ings and Ogbonna, so maybe 30 million pound of income there for the players that are leaving. Like you said, 6 are leaving, but only 5 of them are part of the squad today. So actually, I think the club is actually in a good position going into the summer transfer window. Now that might change as well. If Ben Rama goes and we bring in Ibrahim Osman, suddenly it's like, well, that's one less player in the bottom category and one more guy in the long-term category as well. So it might be slightly different. We've got Calvin Phillips to potentially discuss as well. But right now, I think the squad's looking all right, actually.
Yeah, no, I agree, mate. It's really good. I'm not concerned about it. It's far more concerned about me weak crunches, actually.
There you go. Guess what we're going to be discussing in the Naked podcast next week? Week Crunchies is coming up. If you'd like to more of that, go to patreon.com/HammersChat. A massive thank you to Major once again for that question. We stole it and we decided to promote Patreon using this question that we got on Patreon. But if you've enjoyed this video, please do drop a like on it by clicking thumbs up, subscribing to Hammers Chat. Myself and Gonzo. Catch you in a bit.